Welcome to War Bios, where we delve into the most pivotal conflicts in history, and I'm your host, General Biography. Today, we're going to explore one of the most ancient and influential battles in recorded history, the Battle of Megiddo. This epic clash took place over 400 years ago in what is now modern-day Israel. And it's a story that will transport you back in time to an era of chariots, pharaohs, and mighty empires. The Battle of Megiddo was a defining moment in the history of the Near East, pitting the powerful Egyptian army against the forces of the Canaanite cities. In the 15th century BCE, Egypt was at the height of its power under the New Kingdom period, with Pharaoh Thutmose III ruling over a vast empire that stretched from Nubia in the south to the Euphrates River in the north. The Egyptians had long been interested in expanding their control over the fertile regions of Canaan, which offered rich trade opportunities and strategic access to the Mediterranean. Meanwhile, the city-states of Canaan, such as Megiddo, were wary of Egyptian expansionism and sought to maintain their independence. These cities were often at odds with one another, forming shifting alliances and engaging in petty squabbles over territory and resources. The ruler of Megiddo, a king named Darusha, had allied himself with other Canaanite cities to resist the growing Egyptian threat. As tensions escalated, Pharaoh Thutmose III began to assemble a massive army, comprising thousands of infantrymen, archers, and charioteers. The Egyptians were renowned for their military prowess, with advanced tactics and weaponry that gave them a significant edge over their opponents. Thutmose III's forces marched northward from Egypt, passing through the Sinai Peninsula and into Canaan, where they encountered the combined forces of the Canaanite cities at Megiddo. The city itself was a strategic prize, controlling the vital trade routes that connected Egypt to Mesopotamia and the Mediterranean. The outcome of this battle would determine the fate of Canaan and have far-reaching consequences for the balance of power in the ancient Near East. As we move closer to the eve of the Battle of Megiddo, we find Pharaoh Thutmose III and his generals meticulously planning their campaign, seeking to exploit the weaknesses of the Canaanite defenses. The Egyptians had developed a sophisticated understanding of siege warfare, using tactics such as feints, flanking maneuvers, and clever use of terrain to outmaneuver their foes. The Canaanites, on the other hand, were relying on their knowledge of the local terrain and their familiarity with the city's fortifications to hold off the Egyptian onslaught. They had assembled a diverse force, comprising infantry, archers, and charioteers from various city-states, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. As the two armies faced each other, the air was thick with tension, the outcome hanging precariously in the balance. The fate of Megiddo, and indeed the entire region, would soon be decided on the battlefield. The Egyptian army, with its disciplined ranks and precision tactics, was poised to unleash a devastating assault upon the city, while the Canaanites, fueled by desperation and determination, prepared to defend their homes against all odds. As the Egyptian army approached Megiddo, Pharaoh Thutmose III deployed his forces in a clever tactical formation, aiming to exploit the weaknesses of the Canaanite defenses. On the morning of April 16, 1457 BCE, the Egyptians launched a surprise attack on the city's northern flank, catching the Canaanites off guard. The Egyptian infantry, armed with bronze-tipped spears and shields, advanced in tight formation, supported by archers and charioteers who provided covering fire from the flanks. The Canaanite defenders, led by King Darusha, rallied quickly to respond to the Egyptian assault. They unleashed a hail of arrows and sling stones against the advancing Egyptians, but the pharaoh's army held firm, relying on their discipline and training to weather the storm. As the battle raged on, the Egyptians began to gain ground, pushing the Canaanites back toward the city walls. One of the most significant events of the Battle of Megiddo occurred when the Egyptian charioteers, led by Pharaoh Thutmose III himself, executed a brilliant flanking maneuver, sweeping around the Canaanite left flank and attacking from the rear. This bold move caught the defenders off balance, causing chaos and panic among their ranks. The Egyptians exploited this advantage, pressing their attack and slowly but surely gaining control of the battlefield. As the day wore on, the Canaanites found themselves increasingly hemmed in, with the Egyptians closing in on the city from all sides. King Darusha, realizing that his position was becoming untenable, ordered his troops to fall back behind the city walls, hoping to regroup and launch a counterattack from the safety of the fortifications. However, the Egyptians were relentless, pursuing the Canaanites into the city itself and engaging them in fierce street fighting. In the midst of this chaos, Pharaoh Thutmose III reportedly exclaimed, "The gods have given me the victory, and I shall not rest until the city is mine." His words seemed to inspire his troops, who fought with renewed ferocity, overcoming the Canaanite defenses and claiming the city as their own. As the sun began to set on April 16, 1457 BCE, Megiddo lay at the feet of the Egyptian conquerors, its walls breached, its people subjugated. The aftermath of the battle saw the Egyptians consolidating their control over the city, rounding up prisoners and seizing valuable spoils. Pharaoh Thutmose III, triumphant in his victory, ordered the construction of a grand monument to commemorate his conquest, which would become one of the most famous monuments of ancient Egypt. As the dust settled on the conquered city, Pharaoh Thutmose III oversaw the imposition of Egyptian rule, establishing a new administrative system and appointing loyal officials to govern the subjugated territories. The spoils of war were vast, with riches and treasures flowing into the Egyptian treasury, further solidifying the pharaoh's power and prestige. In the years that followed, Megiddo became a vital hub for Egyptian trade and commerce, with merchants and diplomats from all over the ancient Near East converging on the city to conduct business and pay homage to the Egyptian authorities. The city's strategic location, situated at the crossroads of major trade routes, made it an ideal center for the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultures. The legacy of the Battle of Megiddo can be seen in the numerous records and artifacts that have survived to this day, including the iconic stele erected by Pharaoh Thutmose III, which stands as a testament to the enduring power of Egyptian arms. As the ancient Greek historian Manetho would later observe, the Egyptians, having conquered the city, left behind a lasting monument to their victory, which would be remembered for generations to come. The site of the battle has been extensively excavated, yielding a wealth of archaeological treasures that provide a fascinating glimpse into the lives and cultures of the people who lived and fought there. As the renowned historian Donald Redford has noted, the Battle of Megiddo represents a paradigmatic example of the complexities and nuances of ancient warfare, highlighting the interplay between political, economic, and cultural factors that shaped the course of human history. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.